Welcome back to the channel, y'all. I'm Jacinda, and I am so excited today because we're starting our first cake series. As promised, we'll be taking this box cake mix and we're going to elevate it to the next level. Now, before we get started, I have to mention a few things. None of the products, brands, or businesses that we mention today are affiliated with the channel in any kind of way. They're simply just the things that I prefer to use and kind of what I have available around me. Now let's get baking. Our project is going to be a 3-layered strawberry cake with a lemon filling and a cream cheese icing, and we're going to decorate it to look like a cute Easter basket filled with all the goodies. Today we'll be focusing only on the cake baking. I'll try to link some chapters in the description so you can kind of refer back to them later. I also recommend you watch my full process or just listen at least once before you begin. And if you have any questions, just leave me a comment and I'll try to do my best to answer. Here is a list of the ingredients we'll be using today. 2 boxes of strawberry flavored cake mix. Betty's my girl, y'all, but feel free to try out other brands. 2 cups of pureed strawberries. I simply take about 4 or 5 cups of fresh or thawed strawberries, put them into my blender, then I measure out my 2 cups. Whatever is left goes straight into my belly. A 1/3 cup melted butter, a 1/3 cup of canola oil, 6 eggs at room temp. If you forget to take your eggs out ahead of time, don't worry. Just put them in a little bowl of lukewarm water for a few minutes and they'll be just fine. We're going to preheat our oven to 335 degrees. All of the wet ingredients go into my mixing bowl. I add the eggs one at a time, first cracking them into a separate dish. Trust me, the last thing you want to be doing is fishing out a tiny little shell, and I'm going to mix at a slow to moderate speed for about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm trying to create many tiny little air bubbles that are going to encapsulate all those oils. This is going to allow me to get an amazing, fluffy, melt in your mouth result. Once my wet ingredients are nice and fluffy, we're going to add the box cake mix. Mix again, starting at a very low speed, so you don't get a huge puff cloud. But once everything is wet, go ahead and crank it up to a moderate fast speed. And let's go for another 3 to 4 minutes, stopping about once to scrape the bottom of the bowl. While all my batter mixes, I'll prep my pans. I'll spray each pan very liberally with my favorite baking spray. I'll also take my cake strips. Now, I haven't mentioned these yet, but I'll pretty much never bake a cake without them. I simply bought these at Hobby Lobby. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon, but I'm not sure where else sells them. They're just some long strips, and as you can see, mine are very worn in, y'all. I probably need to get some others. But I soak these in water about 30 minutes at least before I'm ready to bake my cake. When I'm ready to use them, I just wring them out real good, and then I'll wrap it around my pan. You can do that either after you put your batter or before you put your batter. That's totally up to you. It just kind of depends on like how easy that pan is to manipulate. And then that's it. Your pans are ready. I fill my pans about halfway from the top. Now let's get these in the oven. We'll bake our cakes at 335 for about 35 to 45 minutes. Now I know there's a big variation there, but it's because when I put my batter in my pans, I don't really measure. So I usually have one that's ready before the other. At 30 minutes, I start watching very closely. Okay, y'all, so this is what I'm looking for. A nice golden top. Then whenever I press my finger lightly, it springs back into place. This is how I can tell when it's cooked. Also, you can stick a toothpick and it comes out clean. It's done. You're ready. Now this next part I do kind of fast, so you just have to watch and listen very closely. We'll unwrap our cake wrap. I'll take a piece of parchment paper that I've already, while it was baking, cut out. Cover that with a pot holder because this is about to get really hot on our hands, and we'll flip it over. Remove your cake pan. It's really wise that you use the pot holder to take these off. Sometimes I'm not really wise though, as you can see. Take another piece of parchment and I'm going to put it on the bottom because we're going to flip that back over where our cake is now facing up. So now I want to level this cake out because it's a bit uneven, and that would make it super hard when it comes time to fill the cake. I have my cake leveler. This is my favorite because it has a serrated edges. I much prefer this one than the wire ones. And it's set on a level 3 right now. And I know this side's going to be good. So I go to the lowest side and I see absolutely that'll be pretty much perfect. And I'm going to start at the highest side. And I'm just going to kind of run that leveler back and forth while we're cutting that top of the cake off, making sure to keep my legs of the leveler nice and even on my counter. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but look at our edges. There's no thick, crusty edge. That's solely because of those cake strips, y'all. Okay, so we're going to trim the rest of this parchment away from the cake before we remove the top. On another part of my counter, I've already laid out some saran wrap. For this 8-inch cake, I went 1 strip wide and two layers thick. I'm going to bring that over here so that we can see exactly what I did. So 1 wide with 2 strips on top of it. I'm going to drag this cake on top of there. And now I have this contraption, and I really don't even know what it's called. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be like to help me initially with my fondant. Maybe one day we'll get into what I use for my fondant now because it's so much better than this. But it works perfectly to take the tops of cakes, especially if I'm doing like a 10-inch or a 16-inch cake. This is perfect for this step. So real quick, I'm going to take the top off. So we're left with this beautiful, y'all, beautiful strawberry cake. But can't play around. We got to cover that thing up. We want to keep all the steam inside. Now notice I'm not going under the cake. That's because I don't want to put any bulk underneath there. I want to keep all my bulk on the top so that when it freezes, you're not going to have like a wonky sided cake. That will not be fun for you if you do that when it's time to decorate. So I'm just going to take the 4 corners, kind of fold them very gently, making sure not to pull that cake up. I want to keep the cake nice and flat. And then I'll take a short piece of saran wrap, just enough that's going to cover the top, and I'll make sure all my edges are tucked in, and I just kind of go around the cake, and with a very flat edge that we just created, you can put a very flat 1 piece under that cake. Then I'm going to transfer this whole thing onto a cake circle. I love cake circles. They save my life. Transfer this to a cake circle, and it's going to go straight into our freezer. Okay? So we'll get that in the freezer. We'll come back. We'll do all the others. Last one. And that's it, y'all. Our baking is complete. Next, I'll be working on the icing and filling video, and eventually I'll link them all in the description. So if you want to continue to bake with me, just like and subscribe so you get all the notifications. I've had a lot of fun baking with y'all today. Now it's time to sneak some cake scraps and clean that kitchen. So good.